You are listening to Armchair Healthcare, a podcast on pills, placebos, and policy.
All right, welcome to Armchair Healthcare. How you doing, Max?
I'm good.
What's the news this week?
So there's this study that's been kind of repeated through the media about if you are on a low-carb diet, you're going to die sooner. Like I saw it on CNBC, Maxim magazine, I think, said, go eat a donut. And so it's based on this study that was published in Lancet Public Health.
Okay.
That was a prospective study. It was following these people since, I think, the 1980s.
This seems like catnip for everyone that's been dieting, and they're going to say, oh, this low-carb thing, it's not true. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You grab some headlines, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because people want this news to be true. They want it to be like, oh, see, I don't have to go low-carb. I can eat all the crap I want.
Well, I want a donut.
Donuts are good, especially like Boston cream from Dunkin' Donuts. Those are good.
Those are pretty good. Dunkin' Donuts is not a sponsor, but if they want to sponsor this, they can. They can just send me like a case.
Money's good too.
Money is good, but most of my money might go towards donuts.
Anyway, so this study, these people weren't actually on a low-carb diet because paleo and keto didn't really exist in the 80s or 90s, really. These are just people who are relatively low-carb, or their percentage of carbohydrates was lower than the median. But if you look at the baseline characteristics of these people, these weren't health-conscious individuals who were trying to cut the carbs out. They had a much higher rate of smoking than kind of the high-carb people. So in the lowest carb quintile, 33% of the people were current smokers compared to 22% in the high-carb quintile.
Okay. And what was the difference between the two arms in terms of life expectancy or whatever?
This was a little bit of a weird trial because they didn't give you actual data. They had like this model which just showed the hazard ratio output. So it gave you this curve. So I think if you were really low carb, you had like a 40% higher chance of death.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've seen some stuff like this before. There's something that came out a while back. Said, oh, well, the Atkins diet has bad cardiovascular effects, which I could possibly believe because if you're just going to eat bacon all the time, you might increase your cholesterol and you might have some marginally worse cardiovascular effects.
Although dietary fat is usually not the biggest linker with...
I know, it's like 10% though.
No, I think it's higher than that. I think it's like 25%.
25%? Okay.
But still, it means there's other factors associated with it. And
if you eat 5 times as much bacon, right, then it might be 50+%, right?
Yes, if you're incredibly insane and you're eating bacon every meal, then yes, I think so.
Yes, and I think I would love to do that. I do eat quite a lot of bacon.
I think you get sick of that bacon after like a few days.
No, you don't really get sick of bacon.
Yeah, you do. You get full. I mean, that's the whole point of these diets because you're eating like a full fat diet. You get satiated earlier.
Yes.
You don't just binge like you do on donuts or potato chips or all this other crap that we eat. And by the way, yeah, I am an evangelizer. I've been on a low carb diet or very low carb diet for like 5 years.
Yes, and I've done low carb plenty of times. Right now, I'm actually doing intermittent fasting. I'm not on necessarily a low carb diet, but I'm on like a no food diet. There's no food for most of the time.
I don't know if I could do that.
Well, the thing is, you have your carbs and you just burn through them so quickly because there's no other food going into your body.
But it seems like it's very stressful on your body. Like your body's constantly telling you to go hunt and kill a
Well, some might say that exercise is stressful on your body as well. You're literally inducing micro tears in your muscles to induce them to grow larger or something.
Well, no, you can exercise too much. I mean, that is possible.
Exercise. That's what CrossFit kids do. They're dropping dead from CrossFit.
Oh yeah, and I actually saw a statistic that was very unrelated to what we're talking about, but it was kind of shocking that I don't remember what time period this was, but 27 football players from the NCAA have died in the last whatever how many years in their practices versus 0 in the NFL.
Wow.
Like they're basically working
This
these
is
kids
for
to
football.
Yeah, it's football
Okay.
players.
Oh, well.
I mean,
that's
these are
crazy.
young kids at the prime of their life, and
There is a case for banning football because it's bad for your health.
But people have the right to choose it, and also I love watching it, so I really am against banning football.
Sure, but it can be bad for your health. So everyone practice safe football.
So use a Nerf football and make a touch.
Sure, or we just throw all sort of ethics about this out the window, which it might be fun, right? And we can have like death ball.
Is this in our dystopian nightmare?
Well, it's no rules football, where you can take as many steroids as you want. You can have robotic legs if you want. And really, it's kind of a hybrid between football and, say, Formula One racing, where the car or the football player can be as strong as it needs to be, and you can have the technical prowess to make a better F1 vehicle, same as you can have the technical prowess to make a better football player. And I think that's pretty interesting. And then you can have linebackers that have basically permanently embedded shoulder pads made out of metal.
Okay, so road warrior football.
Kind of. I'm thinking a little bit past that. I'm thinking more like Android or Bionic Man football.
Animal
Yes.
human hybrid football, where they're tiger people as linebackers
No, they're not. They're receivers.
because they can bite the football.
No, because they're fast.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. The linebackers are going to be what do you call it? Gorilla hybrids.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll have some players that are that are bionic and some that are animal human hybrids, and you can even have organized teams around this idea. You can have like the animal team versus the bionic person team, and then you can just have roid team where it's just everyone's just roided and just has a giant chemical pump like Bane or something like that, and just pumping them full with steroids.
Okay, great. Well, if you're actually interested in watching an extreme sport where a lot of people get injured, you should probably watch hurling, which is this Irish sport, which is kind of a mix of lacrosse and field hockey, but they don't really wear any protection. You're considered a wuss, and people are constantly having like hands broken and all this stuff because they're running around full speed with sticks and whipping them around all over the place. It's a pretty brutal sport.
I think deathball's got legs though. I think deathball's got legs. Not ethical ones, but we do it in the Cayman Islands or something. I don't know.
Hey, on a lighter note, so on a way, there was a study that came out recently that it was in the European Journal of Urology, and it showed that the more you ejaculate per month, the higher your prostate cancer-free survival.
Yeah, you're really going after trying to piss off the censors, aren't you, Max?
This is a legitimate study in a legitimate journal.
It is legitimate medicine, and prostate health and sexual health are a legitimate part of medicine.
Exactly.
Hear that, censors?
Most amazing is that, so in the highest cohort, it was greater than 21 ejaculations per month, greater than or equal than. So the average age, actually, across all cohorts was around 58. So these aren't like 18-year-olds. These are like grandfathers.
Yeah, so you've got something to look forward to, Max.
Well, I thought that what else was interesting in this was that the divorce rate was higher in the highest cohort. So did they get divorced because they had a higher EPM rate? Or they have a higher EPM rate because they were divorced?
Probably because they had more liberal attitude regarding these sorts of issues, and therefore had more liberal attitude regarding marriage. Like, you're more likely to think divorce is an option if you're not the type of person to be totally sexually pent up, right? Because there is a correlation of both those things to many other factors. And so that's my guess. But in general, this finding isn't particularly surprising to me, because they've shown before that, kind of cleaning the pipes, can be good for various sorts of cancers. Like coffee, for instance, prevents colon cancer. Because my guess is you clean the pipes.
There could be a chemical reason, though.
There could be, but I like my explanation better. Like, if there's anything down there that's causing cancer, you want to get it out, right? So you sort of flush it out, and then
with a high brand diet or something.
A high brand diet and a little coffee every morning, right? Yeah, and same goes here.
And by the way, EPM is my new favorite medical acronym, because that is ejaculations per month. But actually, in terms of the reasoning behind the why it's good for you,
Oh yeah, let's see what the doctors actually have to say before we go into what Nat has to say about this.
No, I mean there was a follow-on study which just showed it changed gene expression in like the tissues around the prostate. So like there was like a big difference in kind of the people with higher EPM rates. So that's kind of their theory.
Oh, okay. Well, you keep things, yeah, you're keeping things, making sure they're still working.
Cars need to have their oil changed, you know.
Exactly. Let's see what other cancers can we prevent this way.
Anywho. So in actual like company news, Pfizer has signed a deal with Exact Sciences to co-promote Cologuard, which, if you don't remember, it's a fecal-based colorectal cancer screening test.
And this is odd news to me. Can you explain how Pfizer has a vested interest in this and what exactly is going on?
They're going to use their Lyrica sales force, which is, since Lyrica is losing exclusivity, they need kind of something for this sales force to do. And they're going to get half of the revenue over certain revenue thresholds. And then they'll also get a royalty of 3% of Cologuard sales for 3 years after the deal ends in 2021.
And is it just because maybe the sales force, and I don't know what the target demographic is for Lyrica, but maybe old people?
Yeah.
People at risk for colon cancer?
Well, right now, so the American Cancer Society recently, like a couple of months ago, lowered the screening age where you should start screening for colorectal cancer. So it used to be 50, now it's 45.
Uh-oh.
So it's just, go to these doctors. There's a lot of GPs. I mean, Lyrica is a neuropathic pain product, so I'm sure they were like in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. Probably a relatively big sales force, kind of sitting on their butts. This gives them something
what they're
to
going to say now is like, oh yeah, so so some of your patients have neuropathic pain. Okay, so you should probably give Lyrica a try in case you've never heard of this giant drug. Also, here's a bucket.
Yeah, well, no, it's a box.
It's a box, but there's a bucket. There's a bucket that comes in the box, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. There is. Yeah, if you want to see something funny, you should watch the Cologuard instructional video. They show you how to scrape your poop that you poop in the box and put it into the sample kit.
It's just it's a tricky transition for the sales force, right? And
it's like, what am I selling?
Yeah, I mean, so Pfizer is now CSO, Contract Sales Organization. So, I mean, I guess this is one way for them to make money.
Yeah, they'll make a little money, and then I think Exact Sciences, because they're on I think it's like about a $440 million annualized run rate based on the most recent quarter. Mm-hmm. So they're selling a good deal, but they're still not making any money because they're spending so much money selling this thing.
This is true. And so the output of this would be immediately they can cut that line off P&L table, right?
But I think that Exact also agreed to maintain a baseline marketing spend.
Okay. So they buy the commercials.
Well, no, buy the detailing of all these doctors. So it's just increase the reach. We'll see how much of an effect it has. Because a lot of the upside is pretty much going to go to Pfizer. Mm-hmm. Their sales might go up, but their margins aren't going to be as good as they could have been if they sold it themselves with their existing sales force. So we'll see how close to profitability it gets them. It is a almost $8 billion company right now.
I kind of want Exact Sciences to succeed.
Well, they have a good test.
They have a good test, and I was skeptical about them for a long time, and they've proven me wrong on so many fronts so far. I hope they prove me wrong on all of them and actually make $1.
Oh yeah, my issue was always just the price. It's a $500 test pretty much right now.
Yeah.
It's usually hard to get people to pay for diagnostics, but they've somehow been able to.
Well, the reimbursement for a doctor should be more than $500 for a colonoscopy, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's usually $1,200.
$1,200. So, I mean, if you cut down on those, there's a pharmacoeconomic case.
Oh, no, you don't cut down on those with this. You increase those. Because this has actually a false positive rate. So the worry is that it actually increases the number of colonoscopies.
Yes, that makes sense. All right, what's next, Max?
Oh, yeah. So Novo Nordisk reported some good data for their oral GLP-1 analog, semaglutide. So they had a phase 3A data, and it showed some really nice HbA1c lowering effects. And it previously had shown that they're better than the SGLT2s, which are kind of big diabetes drugs.
Yeah, but they cause fungus in your bladder, right?
A problem.
That's no good. because you just start peeing out sugar. That's not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
But so it's interesting. It's really been nice to see the evolution of this GLP-1 space. I mean, I remember when Amylin Pharmaceuticals was really the pioneer in this.
Yes, I've always thought GLP-1 was very, very interesting. Seems to be a lot of the sort of a crossroads of a lot of the sort of dysfunctions in diabetes and sort of, what do you call it, metabolic syndrome as well, if you believe that is a thing, sort of hinge on GLP-1. So I've always liked it as a target.
It helps lower your weight, lowers your blood sugar at the same time, kind of separately. The weight loss data is actually really good. I mean, we're talking about at one dose it was like 18% weight loss.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that's huge. That is
huge.
I mean, it sort of breaks the cycle that sort of the reinforcement cycle that happens with type 2 diabetes, right? And if you can get some of this fat shedded, then they should get more natural insulin regulation.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's why when people get sleeve gastrectomies or bypasses, a lot of times that cures your diabetes. I mean, you're eating less, you lose a lot of weight, and you don't have diabetes anymore.
Well, that's only part of the story. You do realize that actually getting gastric surgery done in a weird way that I'm not sure is well understood, maybe involving ghrelin, right? The hormone ghrelin actually cures you of insulin sensitivity like almost immediately before there's any sort of weight loss. I've read papers to this effect. It's very weird and interesting.
Well, I think with sleeve gastrectomies, that actually does target ghrelin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think bypasses did, and I don't think lap bands did. And lap bands were just a rubber band they put tight around your stomach, but that also had a high cure of diabetes.
Yeah, but the ghrelin is secreted in such a way, but when you sort of fill up your stomach too. So I mean, it could have effects. The sleeve gastrectomy, I think, is the one that's...
Yeah, because they cut off, like, whatever, I think the gland or something that's making ghrelin or something.
Yeah, it's basically your hunger thing, which it seems to be affecting a lot of this in a lot of ways, too. Yeah, I'm very excited to see this data as well. And maybe it can be a good just weight loss drug. 18% is probably excess body mass loss.
Yeah, that was just the observed mean change in body weight percentage.
Observed mean change in body weight.
Yeah.
Wow, so it's not even excess.
Yeah, so liraglutide was about half that at 9%. And then there's various doses that were a little bit higher. And then at that top dose, it was like 18%. Liraglutide is already actually approved for obesity.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in that market. I mean, the problem is it doesn't get necessarily reimbursed for obesity, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
But this might be cheaper because it's not going to be an injection.
Yeah. Well, we've already talked about this to some degree, but I think, obesity, given its sort of downstream health effects, probably should be reimbursed to some degree.
Yes, it's just still viewed as a lifestyle.
I know it's just there's something, it's like a moral thing almost. It's like a moral judgment, but I don't really care. I think people should have better outcomes. There's lots of stuff that you can do in your life. We're gonna treat broken legs for people that are by motorcycles. You know what I mean? Because that's their choice.
So do you feel like talking about CRISPR?
All right. So the news on the CRISPR front is that some Chinese scientists, which don't seem to be dissuaded by any sort of ethics on this front that are a little bit scary, decided to do CRISPR on viable human embryos. And what they did was they went and they used a new type of CRISPR called base editing, essentially, to fix a mutation for Marfan syndrome in these embryos. And so these were viable embryos that could potentially be implanted into somebody if they decided to do this. So we have really gotten to the point of potentially fixing genetic diseases using gene editing. And this is in embryos before they've differentiated, such that this is going to be a heritable change in these individuals, right? Which is both exciting and scary at the same time.
You mean like because we could have Gattaca in real life?
We could have Gattaca. Like, as long as the mutation, at least at this point, as long as the mutation is a single base pair change, right, which is what they did in this case. And the reason why that's important is because this base editing mechanism they're using of CRISPR sort of avoids a lot of the other sort of risks that CRISPR carries. I
You
mean,
mean like mutations and stuff?
like mutations and stuff like that. Normally what CRISPR does is it just cuts your genome at a particular spot. And then you throw in the new gene that you want to put in, and you sort of hope that your body puts it together all in the right way. But things can go awry, and you can get cuts in the wrong spot, and you can have deletions and other things like that. Because your DNA is quite big. It's quite big. I mean, it's multiple centimeters long in any given human being, right? I have to double check that later. I think it's like, I don't know, it's macroscopic in size, but then all curled up. And so there's lots of space for things to go awry if you're just cutting and pasting. But this gene editing technique, basically what it does is just switches basically a single A, T, G, or C to a different identity. Right? Instead of making a big double-stranded break. So in that respect, it seems a lot safer.
Mm-hmm.
And David Liu, who's one of the earliest innovators in CRISPR, actually started a new company called Beam Therapeutics, which seems to be focusing on this particular variety of CRISPR, which is interesting to me. Because, I mean, this whole time when I've seen CRISPR sort of reach the public consciousness.
It was even I think the scientific method used in a movie by The Rock.
Oh yes, Rampage.
Yes.
Movie based on a video game from the 80s and 90s. I mean, we can talk about that. That's important too. Giant animals, animal-human hybrids. But we're there. The point is that we're there. We can fix genetic disorders and potentially make animal-human hybrids. That's a little bit more risky. You probably need the more cut and paste type of CRISPR to do that.
Now, is this going to work beyond embryos? Are embryos easier?
Embryos are easier because there's a limited number of cells that you have to switch, right? So some of these embryos, I don't know what stage these particular embryos were at, but you can get embryos at like 4, 10, even like a single cell zygote before it starts dividing at all. Mm-hmm. And potentially you could affect that. So then that becomes all the rest of the cells in your body, and they're all going to carry the new change. The weird thing here is that includes your gonads. It includes the genetic material going to pass on to future generations. And if you thought genetically modified crops were scary, this is a little bit scarier, right? To me, as a scientist, proponent of human futurism, not so scary. But to a lot of people, probably a lot.
Yes, the Frankenfoods crew.
But if you tell somebody that you could fix their potential muscular dystrophy or Tay-Sachs or any other, or CF or any other rare heritable disease using this, they might be on board, even though it creeps a lot of people out.
Well, I mean, I look at it this way. Just like people select mates based on whatever their desirability. And so that, they're trying to get offspring that are optimized. This just actually is a more industrialized way of doing it than kind of the old-fashioned way.
Yes, and it's the fact that it's not the old-fashioned way that I think creeps people out, because people don't have any problems with selective breeding of corn or something like that, but they have some problems with Roundup Ready corn, right? And this is like Roundup Ready people.
What's Roundup Ready?
Oh, that's when it's genetically engineered not to respond to Roundup, the pesticide.
Roundup, a pesticide? Why would?
Because you want to kill everything but the corn.
Oh, okay.
So you dump Roundup on the crop, it kills every single other thing in the field except for the genetically engineered corn.
Don't they engineer it to be like unattractive to pests in the first place?
I don't know that stuff.
I think they do.
There's like genetically engineered pest tolerant species, I guess. I don't know. Bayer owns Monsanto now, so it's sort of slowly sliding into our healthcare space.
Well, I mean, it's always ag bio, so that's...
Ag bio is pretty interesting. This is the sort of like ag bio for people, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to put some mutations in your baby for myostatin, right? So that when they grow up, they can be so strong
and ripped,
and they can play in Death Ball League. There's absolutely no downsides to having a mutation in myostatin. This already exists in the world, and these people are just ripped.
Yes, but Death Ball?
Yeah, they'd be really good at it.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to... No, it's just good because they'll have muscles without exercising. I think most people can get on board with that one.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we should do this to everyone.
Without their consent?
No, with their consent. We just make sure that the people that don't have the right genes, have a tougher time in life.
What?
That was pretty bad. That was pretty...
That sounded really horrible.
Well, I was thinking Gattaca.
Or
now I realize that
Eichmann or
Gattaca
something.
is sort of, it's an allegory for all the things we normally do. Whoa. We are already Gattaca because we're already judging people based on their genes.
Was that your Ethan Hawke voice?
No.
Okay. And okay. I mean, I think. Anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, that's all I got.
Okay, cool. Thank you for listening, everyone. By the way, just as a disclaimer, since we did talk about certain medical issues,
Yeah,
don't listen to anything we say.
Don't listen to anything we say. This is not medical or investment advice. Do not gene edit your babies.
Yes, or join a deathball league.
Or join a death bowl league.
Please don't. Anyway, please subscribe and please review us on iTunes. Thank you very much.
All right. See you next week. Our theme music is by Hazard.